What if Spider-Man was in Daredevil Born Again? So we know that Peter Parker is still actively being Spider-Man because he's mentioned by Kingpin in the series. Obviously, no one remembers Peter Parker, but they still know Spider-Man is a hero, and while all of New York is being taken over by the Kingpin, Bro is just doing his own thing. But of course, that's just character rights and him not being able to be in shows. But on the news, Peter Parker would see that Kingpin has been made mayor. He would have most likely heard rumors of his criminal empire and he'd be hesitant about him being mayor. He'd keep an eye on the news and would begin to hear about the ongoing corruption in the police force and the formation of the anti-vigilante task force. He'd hear about Hector Ayala's case and then the death of the White Tiger. But it's once Muse dies and he saw the cover up that the task force took credit for his defeat and were the ones responsible and not Daredevil getting credit where he knew things were getting bad. But once Fisk puts the city on lockdown and outlaws all vigilantes is when he'd step in. He'd know of Daredevil and would eventually meet up with him and join his side, and might even learn that he was his former lawyer Matt Murdock who defended him in No Way Home. Peter would help Matt and Karen take down the corrupt cops, and then Peter and Matt would learn about the vigilantes that were being held prisoner by Fisk. They'd break them out and even more heroes would join their side. Punisher might join them, but he might also just go and do his own thing after this. Fisk would learn of Daredevil and Spider-Man working together and breaking everyone out, but with help from the webhead, Matt would be able to stop the Red Hook port and Karen would reveal that Vanessa Fisk had been using it to launder money for years. And if this happens, Fisk would probably reveal Matt's identity as Daredevil to have him as New York's #1 public enemy. But it would sort of backfire and the people would see that Matt is the hero and that Fisk had never changed and was always the Kingpin, and New York would be on the side of the vigilantes again. Kingpin would begin to spiral out of control, and even though Bullseye hates him, Fisk could potentially manipulate him to try and kill Daredevil and Spider-Man. And when Matt and Peter go to confront Fisk, Bullseye would show up. Daredevil would fight Bullseye, and just like in episode 1, he'd beat him. Spider-Man would fight Fisk, and it goes about as well as you'd expect, and Peter would overpower him and knock him out. Fisk could still have men that are loyal to him, but if this happens, I feel that Punisher would come in to help them and murk the rest of his men. Kingpin would be arrested, and Matt and Karen would finally send Fisk and Vanessa to prison after getting evidence for the Red Hook port, and with this, they'd finally get justice for Foggy's death. Bullseye would also be sent back to prison, and instead of life in prison, I feel that this time he might just get the death sentence. Matt would thank Peter for all of his help, and the two would go their separate ways, possibly until whenever the events of Spider-Man Brand New Day happen. And then I thought of a post-credit scene where Punisher could go and kill Vanessa in prison, sort of doing it for Daredevil, or so he doesn't have to, all for justice for Foggy's death. But he wouldn't kill Kingpin just so he could make him feel what it's like to lose his wife and his family.